Hello.
Ahoy and avast me hearties.
Not necessarily in that order.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's already passed for the year. Isn't it in like September or something? I should know this. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, get some 7C going on there.
I mean, you already are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all about that, Mildred, obviously. I want more pirate stuff out there, not less. A raising wind raises all airships, as I like to say.
I should tell you about Carlo sometime.
Oh yeah.
God damn it, it did it again.
Oops.
Okay.
It did it again.
Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. Welcome back to the Valley of the Judged. We are back.
Uh-oh. Did we lose all of that?
On my end, it didn't lose you guys.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
They just
OBS
couldn't
So
hear
we were
you.
just kind of reacting to like absolutely nothing.
Yep. Blame OBS for doing another one of those stealth adjustments.
Ugh, I lost an entire episode of my podcast once because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not good.
Yeah.
So just out of nowhere, they just hear me going, "Hello."
Mm-hmm. But
sorry.
We'd also last week we covered the basics on how things work. A lot of it is going to be familiar. We briefly touched on the fact that instead of using the Vancian model for this, it is using a technique points because spells are techniques; they're not spells in this game. A lot of it is certainly going to be familiar. There was also the hero points rule, which is definitely unique to this, as well as the skill lists. The way it handles skills is not going to be like the 5e model. It is based more on Esper Genesis, another one of Skydawn's projects, which is probably why they were tapped for this thing. But this week we're going to be focusing on character creation. The only part of character creation we won't get into is what the game calls professions, which is basically classes. And that's mainly because covering that in this, it's going to be a bit packed. Now, if we end up going through the character creation chapter a little too quickly, I may consider putting that in after a brief break. But that's one of those play things by ear things, because it's hard to tell how long something's going to go early on. And
yeah, we'll just do the, coast on vibes, see what happens.
Yep. So obviously, we're starting with Chapter 2, Creating Characters, which is going to have the building blocks for making a character. I do appreciate that they bring up Session 0. I've liked that that's become more and more of a standard thing in the RPG discourse, of having one session that is dedicated to establishing a tone.
Press start.
Mm-hmm. That's where you're establishing the theme, because a game like Phantasy Star, you can go in a lot of different directions, so it's important to nail down which one you're going to. Expectations. This is something I often do when I write out a primer for my campaigns, as Joe can attest. That document that I had when we started up the Perils of Arrogance, I do something like that for every long-term campaign I run.
Fair enough.
And even for some of my IRL campaigns, that's why I had no sympathy for that one person during the Lex Arcana incident. because I told him and everybody else in advance what I was expecting. And now, if you're not familiar with Lex Arcana, that is a Italian TTRPG by Quality Games that I've reviewed in the past. It has a decent amount of expansions, but a key thing with it is that it is far more of an investigative game instead of a combat-focused one. That's not to say combat doesn't happen, but a combat-heavy campaign isn't exactly the tone it's trying to go for. And
So obviously, I should rage and pick a fight with everybody. Understood.
I had made explicitly clear in the primer, do not build a combat-heavy character. This is going to be an investigative campaign. Do not think of Gladiator. Think more of X-Files or Fringe in terms of the tone we're going for. Because the premise with Lex Arcana is you are members of a branch of the Praetorian Guard that is focused on investigating and dealing with supernatural threats to the Empire.
Oh, is it set in ancient Rome then?
Yeah, a bit of an old history Rome, where Rome not only didn't fall when it did, but survived another century.
Okay.
As well as established colonies in Britain and Egypt.
Sorry, Visigoths, your day never came.
Mm-hmm. That and because of that premise, combat it isn't going to be a combat heavy affair, and I made that explicitly clear. One of the players made a combat heavy character anyways. I said to him, "Are you sure about this?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." I'm like, "All right. I'm not going to stop you, but you were warned multiple times, so if you raise a fuss, it's on you."
Yeah, sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and
I mean, every group needs a muscle every now and again, but
that was
even
the sole
then
thing he did, and I warned him, if you do that, you're going to spend a lot of time sitting on your hands. He was told multiple times. He did not listen multiple times, so you get what you pay for.
Still, it's an interesting way to go about it. You know, you wouldn't expect that sort of approach to an ancient Roman themed game. Although I do know there is a novel series by Steven Saylor I read a little bit of, which is sort of about as close as you can get to a private detective in ancient Rome.
Mm-hmm.
But interesting setup in any case.
Mm-hmm. But I think another thing that I'm glad that they put into this chapter of the Phantasy Star book is the forming a party chapter, i.e., how the player characters know each other. Because in doing so, we get to avoid one of the age-old tropes that has been memed to death over the course of my lifetime. You all
I'm the leader. No, I'm the leader. No, I'm the leader. No, I'm gonna fuck off.
Yeah. The whole "you all meet in the tavern" kind of thing.
Oh god, okay.
And you know that one person is like, "What if I don't want to join the quest?"
And then there's this old dude who's sitting by the fire, says, "Sit a while and listen."
Yes. Hello, my friends.
I'll get to him when that Diablo TTRPG actually drops, which that is a thing that's happening.
Okay.
I don't know much on it. I just know that they are not using the D20 system for it. It's an in-house.
Good. System. Right. So writing this down right here, spin to win even on TTRPG. Okay, cool.
But the examples they give are Bound in Tragedy, an event that affects all the characters, that brings them together, hired for a job. Self-explanatory there. friends forever. They've known each other all their lives, and the meet cute, which I love. The characters run into each other in an unlikely, humorous, or embarrassing situation.
Now that's an underused one, definitely in TTRPG first encounters.
Yeah,
Hmm.
uh, I think I've done that once because one of the player characters had said that he wanted to do somebody who was the luckiest unluckiest person in the universe, i.e. They try to do the right thing. It's just that the universe is constantly screwing with them in terms of the whims of fate.
Oh, that's my supervillain.
Mhm. So I added that they end up meeting the party while they're technically on the run from having stolen from the king.
Mm.
And the whole time the king doesn't know that he's holding an audience with the person who just stole from him a week ago.
Well,
What? I
that's
would never willingly steal from the king. What are you talking about?
If any of you have ever read the Caiaphas Cain novels from Warhammer 40K, it's that kind of lucky unlucky.
I absolutely love that series of books.
Mm-hmm. Or and even I could also bring up Gotrek and Felix and how they do have the someone comes up to them in a tavern thing, but the reason they end up joining in on the quest is either Felix is love struck or Gotrek thinks, hey, if we go there, there'll be a mighty doom waiting for me.
I
Remember,
also love that series of books.
yeah, because remember, Gotrek is trying to die in battle as a slayer. The problem is he sucks at it. Not the whole fighting part; he's really good at that. It's the fact that he's supposed to have a death wish. The problem is
Yeah, except he's not allowed to just lay down and die. He needs
no.
to go out in the blaze of glory.
Yeah, the problem is when he goes out in a blaze of glory, whatever he's up against usually ends up getting turned into powder.
I mean, he's not supposed to make it easy for them.
Uh, but then covering subject matter and content as well as the ground rules. Uh, so the basic stuff for a session 0 where you're setting the tone. Uh, I've often paralleled the idea of a session 0 with the idea of the overture in an opera.
Absolutely,
Surprise,
or like
motherfucker.
the prologue of a book, maybe.
Yep. And thank you, Hikaru, for the raid. For
Okay,
those...
you said that, and suddenly the Final Fantasy VI opera started playing in my head because of Slayer's icon.
Mm-hmm. And it could be worse. You could have had the overture from the first Star Trek movie playing in your head. But
The number of times I've had to play that in marching band.
Ah,
also known as Star Trek: The Motionless Picture. But
yeah.
although the overture is usually meant to set the scene, and 5 minutes of nothing, which is what that overture was in TMP. Actually, no, I take that back. That completely sets the tone for that movie. But how are you?
Oh, Star Trek. I'm sorry, I was thinking Star Wars for some reason.
Yeah, but how are you doing, Hikaru? I hope hope your stream went well. I know that it says just chatting, but given the last time I visited your stream, you could have been doing something else, and I would have not known. And thank you, Chris Cast, for the follow. Hope you enjoy the madness. But getting back on the matter, we have a 5-step setup for creating characters in Phantasy Star. Coming up with the concept, choosing an origin, choosing profession, basically class. Origin is going to be the equivalent of both species and background. And choosing abilities, so generating the 6 ability scores. and then recording any adjustments.
That's
Mhm.
smart. Doing profession before abilities. That way, you know what you need to build towards.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. With Legend Edition, I have it that you're generating abilities first, but I don't have it as rolling abilities per se. Plus, you're not going to be able to really min max the 6 ability scores in Legend Edition the way you might in other games.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I'm kidding.
Uh, you can start with a +3, but you're taking some heavy penalties in the process.
That's okay. I'm a square peg. I know exactly what I'm made for.
But when it comes to choosing a concept, they describe a concept as a short sentence that sums up the character. And whenever it comes to the length of what that short sentence is, there's one analogy that I often use. If you couldn't put it on flavor text on a Magic the Gathering card, it's too long.
Okay, but can I add rules reminders text just in case?
That's not flavor text. You already have plenty of rules reminders. It's called a character sheet.
What we really have here is kind of like a verb adjective noun for most of these.
Yeah.
Understood. Understood.
Mm-hmm. But it's a
So my
case
character
of,
concept is just going to be a hyperlink to a fanfiction.net.
no,
Sorry.
no. The last thing we need is a return of Old Man Henderson.
Aww.
Sizer, are you familiar with the legend that is Old Man Henderson? The one
I
man.
guess I'm not. No, this is it like is it one of those things like the Dread Gazebo that everybody eventually runs across?
Is it the Sir Barrington issue? Is similar to the Sir Barrington issue?
Closer to Sir Barrington than the Dread Gazebo, but you're both not too far off. So this was a story of a GM for a Call of Cthulhu campaign.
Oh.
And or not a player for it. And what ended up happening was the player wanted to fuck with his GM, so he made a character backstory that was a full-on novel in length.
Oh no.
Knowing
Okay.
that the GM would not read it. It also meant that he could throw a bunch of stuff in there, and if the GM questioned it, he could say it's in the backstory, which he outright admits that he used to cheat quite a bit. And he somehow got dragged into a fight against a cult of old ones, solely because one of them had stolen his garden gnome. And was being the most drunk Scotsman you could possibly be. And in fact, I wanted somebody to reread the Old Man Henderson story in a Scottish accent. Unfortunately, the whole story has been preserved on 1d6 chan.
Okay. I'll see if I can find it one of these days. Not that I can help you with the Scottish accent, but
no, it's referred to as a fanfic, but it is a glorified shitpost.
Which, when it comes to character backgrounds, there are very few things that are as satisfying as glorified shitposts.
Yep, and I put in the side chat for you, and I'll put it in the main chat for everyone else. This is Old Man Henderson.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, a lot of 1d6 chan is the spiritual successor to 1d4 chan, the wiki for the TG part of 4chan and just the chans in general.
Oh wow, there's a lot here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did warn
Okay.
you.
Although the illustration reminds me of one of the last Call of Cthulhu games I was in, where my second character, the first one died, of course, because it's Call of Cthulhu. My second character also died and was killed by a literal hobo with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the art just, for whatever reason, makes me think of Merlin from Sword in the Stone at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, but after creating the concept, we then go into origin, which we'll be revisiting in a moment in more detail. But the main thing you're picking with origin is your species and your background. Species, of course, being the equivalent of race. I know some people hem and haw about using the term race in tabletop. It doesn't matter. It lipstick on a pig at the end of the day is still going to be a pig.
Even if you cast Awakening on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I've seen people in the space talk about, well, we have to get away from the term race. I'm like, I don't see the point in that, because people are going to use the term anyways. It's too baked in. So just call a spade a spade. Now, if you're dealing with a game that's human only, and you want to go with different ethnic groups, then yeah. But people are going to say the equivalent of race in other games anyways. So I've always been like, what's the point? But your choice of species.
Yeah, and they moved it.
Good.
Sorry, I just was going to say they did move it to species in D&D 2024, didn't they?
Yeah.
Really?
And species is certainly going to be more apropos way to phrase it in a science fiction or a science fantasy game. But I've seen people get on the fainting couch about the whole thing. But regardless, your choice of species determines size and speed. Some species will have bonuses to saving throws, which will be noted. And when it comes to background, it's going to be similar to how it is in standard 5e. It's going to provide you with some skills, some proficiencies, and some equipment. Now, it should be noted, for those of you who did not catch last week, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, skills in the Phantasy Star RPG are going to work a little bit differently. It's not a case of you're either proficient or you're not. There are degrees of skill mastery that you have. And the more points you have, the bigger bonus you're going to get. So it isn't a on-off switch. It is a more standard skill point setup with a cap of 5 points. And of course, there's also a completely different... I won't say completely different, but there is a significantly different skill list. It also means certain skills that got overused aren't really here. Looking at you, religion.
But I want to know how they pray, what they pray to, all of it.
But
yep, you got doesn't mean you have a doctorate in comparative religion.
And obviously, you still do get proficiencies, and it is worth noting to be aware of ones that may or may not overlap with your background, or not with your background, with your profession, because that could happen. And of course, your starting equipment from your background. You also have the concept of story bonds. Basically, the backstory suggestions with each background, and it's best to make sure that they align with the rest of the table. and of course, the assignment of languages. All characters speak Galactic Common as a trade common, and additional languages can be determined by species and background, so standard fare.
Hmm.
Then profession. There's only a handful of professions. We only have 7 here. Each of them is only going to have, I think, 3 subclasses. So we have
Sounds about right.
Guardian, a defender, Hunter, so weapon and technique use. So like Hunter would certainly be a Gish. Mystic, which is referred to as a combat adept with spiritual techniques, so that's another Gish. Operative,
Gishanki or Gishirai?
just Gish.
Fair enough.
Red Maid.
Yep. Operative, this is going to be our sneaky boy. Savant, this is going to be our engineer. Thaumaturge, I guess Thaumaturge would be the equivalent of the Force in Phantasy Star Online.
Thaumaturge is the black mage. Mystic, I think, is more the psychic.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope that I don't end up having to rant about psychics for 50 minutes again.
Hold on, let me get my crystals.
Mm-hmm. And warrior is self-explanatory. Though, if you want to give certain people PTSD with the word warrior, just bang 3 glass Coke bottles together.
Come out and play.
Now, okay, so I haven't really played these games. So for those of you who have, and I think the 2 of you both have, what does this seem like a pretty good spread of professions? Does it really encapsulate the types of characters that you would have in your Phantasy Star party, whether in the original quadrilogy or PSO?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now,
okay.
The original quartet didn't have named classes, but had the equivalent playstyles. And
they had characters that fit into these roles, essentially.
And online only had 3 classes, but online's approach to it was significantly different. You had Force, which was you basically had the warrior, rogue, and mage approach. Hunters were your warriors. Rangers were your rogues, essentially, even if it's more physical versus range combat. And I already mentioned forces. So
right.
But the thing is, even with something that freeform, people are going to build towards a certain archetype anyways. But then, of course, go ahead.
Like the original quartet was very similar to how Final Fantasy VI did their variations, and Final Fantasy IV did their variations on characters, where each character could totally be a class per se, but they were the only ones who fit that role in your party. So it was more along the lines of, okay, I need this character, this character, this character, because they fulfill what I need for the balance, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to turn this character into a black mage and this one into a knight, and then that way I'll be covered for the basics and I can do whatever the fuck I want with anyone else.
Yeah, it makes sense. Each character is, you don't have a lot of customization options, but you're able to get the characters you need to make a complete party.
Yeah.
Like, the only way you could really customize them is with weapon choices, depending on the characters, and even then, not so much.
Yeah.
We are talking about the Master System in Genesis, after all.
Right.
It did slowly start to open up, especially by the time we got to Phantasy Star 4, or what some people have called the glorified apology for 3, which is in the hall of we don't talk about that. I don't hate 3 as much as some of the fan base does. I think it was a case of biting off more than you can chew.
There was a 3?
Ha! But getting back on the rails, after choosing profession, you record your level. Obviously, unless the table has agreed otherwise. You're starting at level 1. As well as record your profession's features, any skills and proficiencies that you get from your profession, your starting equipment. They also put in take a pause.
Maybe they could have said hit the pause button since they said press start earlier. I don't know. Maybe that's too much. Yeah.
And after that, you determine abilities. That's step 4. And there's a few approaches that you can take. Option A is assigning values, in which case you'd assign 2 abilities with a +2 modifier, 2 with a +1, 1 with a 0, and 1 with a -1. You are not rolling for
So your standard
scores.
array.
Yeah, you're not rolling for ability scores here at first. The only thing you're going to be caring about is ability modifiers. There isn't a score conversion.
Is it still like a 1 to 20 spread, or I guess because I'm not picturing where
did you ever
how
play
these
True
modifiers
20?
line up? No, I didn't.
True 20 dropped the ability score part and just went with modifiers.
Oh, okay.
This is doing something similar to that.
That's a good idea, seems like.
To be honest, the ability score part of it never really made any sense if we were just using the modifiers.
It is a holdover, and in some early games, the ability score did play a bigger factor, but
the only time I've ever seen ability score used was when Spellfire was needed.
Yeah, it was very situational. Things like carrying capacity or how much you could move or lift. But not a whole lot that couldn't already be done by modifier as is. And after you assign values, you put one in any 2 abilities. At GM's permission, you can instead add 2 to a single ability. In either case, you can't go higher than 3. The other method is full-on point-based. You have 7 points to assign between the ability scores. You can decrease an ability score to a maximum of -1 to get an extra point. And the range that you can go with, regardless of how you spread it out, is +3 to -1.
All right, so here's the one to angle for if you're a min-maxer.
But there is a
would like to trust luck.
Yeah, there is a variant option if you want to do the whole rolling ability scores. You would roll 6d10 or a single d10 6 times and consult the given table. 1 to 2 is -1, 3 to 4 is 0, 5 to 7 is 1, 8 to 10 is 2. And after that, you get 2 free points.
Okay.
So, interesting.
Hold on, let me get my D10s.
After that, assigning saving throws, which is going to be based on origin and profession. Some will have a save bonus, and that save bonus can be used to calculate things like save DCs for specific features and for vehicle maneuvers. We'll get to vehicle maneuvers much later in this series.
So what do I have to roll to pop a wheelie?
Oh, you need a natural 20 for that.
Oh, dang it.
It could be worse. You could be like some of those motocross drivers in those trials events that Red Bull does, where you're having to hop between poles.
Hold on. I'm going to roll to park a car sideways in a very small parking spot.
Ooh. I don't know. I'm not even
pulling
sure
a Mulhoney.
Done.
Yep. And obviously calculating skills happens here as well. This is also where you'd calculate your passive perception, which is going to be 10 plus whatever your perception skill is. And of course, calculating hit points as well as hit die. So Guardian, Hunter, and Warrior, they get 10 plus con. Mystic, Operative, and Savant get 8 plus con, and Thaumaturge gets 6 plus con.
Oh my goodness.
Behold the glass cannon.
Yep. Gotta have at least one that's squishy.
Yeah. This is also where you generate your technique points. This is specific to each profession. Each profession that does use techniques will also list which ability modifier they use when casting techniques, as well as the saving throw DC for techniques. So the attack is going to be your attack ability plus your profession's bonus. The DC is going to start at 8, plus add your ability and add your save bonus. If you can't cast techniques, this is treated as 0.
So if you're playing like, what was it, a guardian or a warrior, probably.
Mm-hmm. So then you have agility, which is based on your dexterity modifier plus any bonuses. Mainly going to be used for rolling initiative, though since they didn't just say initiative, I have to wonder if agility will be used for other things as well. Defense is 10 plus dex. If you're wearing armor, defense is calculated using the armor table we'll find later. And of course, with weapons, it's pretty standard fare. Melee weapons use strength modifier plus attack bonus. Ranged weapons use dex modifier. And some weapons will have their own properties, as well as properties if you have mastery in them. We'll get to that in a bit. And then finalizing your origin. I do like that they ask these particular questions. Where and how did you grow up? Are or were you a member of any factions or organizations? Do you have any past or present romances? Are there any vivid elements from your childhood, such as a hobby or favorite pet? What goals or hopes do you have for your future? What are your deepest desires or fears? All of these questions don't necessarily have to be answered, but they're good to think about, as well as provide the GM with player blackmail. We know how it is.
For sure. Because,
indeed.
Looking at that list, I know I'm going to go for having, like, a beloved space doggo.
Mm-hmm. Then describing personality, as well as, and finally, level advancement. So the save bonus is pretty much the equivalent of the proficiency bonus you would see in 5e. The other factor is, depending on your level, that's going to determine how many points you can have in a given skill. Starting at 3.
I haven't seen experience points in ages.
I rarely use experience points personally. Mostly to avoid that one person who thinks that they can get XP from killing a random NPC. We've all seen that person. We know them in some form or fashion.
You all saw it. That orphanage attacked me first.
Gee.
And honestly, it just seems like a real pain to have to design that into your system, honestly. I have to calculate exactly what the, along with CRs, what the challenge is, and how much XP you should have to get for, defeating something that's greater than your level or something along those lines. Yeah. I'm not a math guy, okay? It's just too much for me.
I prefer milestones.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I do milestones personally, and maybe you guys do it for a similar reason. It's because I've had multiple cases where everybody but one person levels up, especially in my AD&D days where different classes had different XP thresholds. That's one thing I definitely don't miss.
I remember those days.
And I've never been a big fan of challenge rating. I wasn't a fan back in 2000 when they first introduced it. I'm certainly not a fan now. And a big reason for that is I always felt challenge rating makes too many assumptions. The most damning
Yeah.
assumption that it makes is assuming a balanced party of 4. Even if you have that, that's not something you should be assuming.
No, 100%. It it just doesn't end up that way, and someone could be absent from the session, and who knows what the party configuration of the people who are actually going to face the enemy that you carefully selected and created, like an encounter to deal with, is going to look like.
Yeah.
So
one of the repeat questions I end up getting for Legend Edition is how would one build a balanced encounter? And both Zan and myself have repeatedly had to tell people, to the point where we made a pinned comment in it in my Discord. Because of the variations in creature creation, developing a balanced encounter in that fashion is impossible. Or at the very least, impractical. Especially considering the amount of variation on both the GM side and the player side. So because of that, we're just like, the best you could do is maybe a few normals for each notorious, but that's not exactly balanced encounter advice. That's just a vague bullet point. I did write a encounter guideline once, but it was so vague I scrapped it. I think the only
it just seems better to be able to roll, what do you call it when you make things up? I'm missing the word.
improvise.
Improvise.
Mm.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that, and this is one thing I actually enjoy with this setup. Because of the fact that you're doing a skill point setup, each level you go beyond the first, you get 5 skill ranks to assign. And a big reason I enjoy this factor is you do have a good variety of skills, and it also encourages you to diversify your skill list. I think we've all seen plenty of cases where somebody who picks their starting spread of skills in a given game sticks to those skills and nothing else for the remainder of their adventuring career. And just as a reminder, the skill list that we have for Phantasy Star is acrobatics, astrophysics, athletics, computers, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, lore, mechanics, medicine, perception, performance, persuasion, sleight of hand, stealth, survival, and xenobiology.
Is that about 15, 16?
Yeah.
A lot better than pretty much any edition of D&D I played.
Well, except for 3rd edition, which had way too damn many skills and not enough points to distribute among them. Along with several skills that were way too situational, or prompted the question, why is this split? Like, why is run, jump, climb, and swim different skills?
Yeah.
Or why is
that was always super fun to... You could have a character that could climb, at the same speed as they could run, but would drown immediately if they fell off the side of the ship.
Mm-hmm. But then we get to the origins in more detail. And obviously we have the anatomy of them. So the species that we have. First one is androids, which were also known as castes in Phantasy Star Online. You want to play the robot? This is how you do it. So they get armored frame, so a +1 to defense. At level 11, this is a +2. a mechanical form, so you are immune to poisons and disease. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. You don't need to sleep while resting. On the other hand, you are susceptible to attacks that affect automatons and robots. And to stabilize you when you're at 0 HP, creatures must use a repair kit and succeed on DC 10 mechanics check instead of medicine.
Yeah, makes sense. You got your clanker. You got to be able to get patched up with a wrench rather than a syringe.
Mm-hmm. You also get dark vision with a range of 60 feet. At level 5, this goes up to 90 feet, and you get infravision at 30 feet. We also have a variant of the android for those who want to do the techniqueless variant. Since in some of the Phantasy Star games and in online, androids can't use techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a GM discretion thing, since techniques are based on profession. But if you are taking this approach, there are a few traits that are added. First off, of course, no TP. You can use a caster kit accessory as if you were a technique caster. You can finish a long rest in 4 hours. In addition, when you finish a short rest, roll 1 hit die and gain HP equal to the number rolled. The hit die isn't spent, and you don't need an unspent hit die to use this. At level 11, use 2 hit dice instead. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, but I have always felt that the hit die system that we've seen in 5e and subsequently here was a case of missing the point of why healing surges were introduced in 4th edition. The idea with healing surges was to make it so that you didn't need to have the dedicated healer as much. But hit dice, as they're set up, don't heal enough to really make it work. A healing surge originally always healed 1/4 your max.
Yep, and various abilities like Second Wind could allow you to do it like at one time in combat or something.
Mm-hmm. Along with the fact that Second Wind provided a temp bonus to your defenses.
Yeah, that's true.
Leader archetypes had a lot of abilities that would allow an ally to spend a healing surge. And potions just gave you a boosted version of a healing surge. But of course, when you do that, you lose out on that potion.
Indeed.
But the android variant also gets a recover action. You can perform a self-repair dependent on character level. You regain HP based plus your constitution modifier as determined on the recovery table. You can use this trait a number of times as defined on the table, and you regain these when you finish a long rest. I won't get into the whole short rest, long rest thing because I did that 2 weeks ago. It's one of those other things I have a bit of issue with. But 1 to 5, you get 2 uses, and it's 2d8 plus con. And every five levels, except for the highest tier, it goes up by 1 more use and 1 more die.
Okay, so I've got a bone to pick with their nomenclature here, if I may. So I grew up with the idea after watching Star Trek TNG that an android looks kind of like is supposed to be a mimicry of a human, right? Data looked more or less like a human. Now, Kirik here looks like your typical, sort of robot from like a humanoid robot, but definitely a robot. Now, if I'm mistaken with what android means, because if not, then I don't think android is the right term to use here.
Like I said, I think for this, android was used as a catch-all, because in online, they're not called androids, they're called casts.
Okay. I just don't like the term android because I think it ought to mean like a human facsimile that you couldn't necessarily tell apart, right? Unless you were looking more closely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. like mechanoid or robot seems more like a more apt term. But maybe I'm just being picky.
But of course, then we have our good old human. So they have adaptable, so they get proficiency with one tool or vehicle. They get 2 additional fate points. Fate points was something we covered a couple weeks ago. They are a limited pool of die that you can use to boost rolls. You get the amount of die that you get depends on your character level. There is a variant where you can have it as a shared pool instead. But you get 2 additional fate points at level 1 for a total of 5. When you finish a short rest, you regain 2 fate points up to your maximum. You also get 2 ranks of a skill of your choice and 1 rank in a different skill. Though it's important to remember that at first level, your skills are always capped at 3. We do have a bunch of environmental variants, i.e. your native environment provides you with inherent characteristics. So these would replace the resourceful trait with one of these environmental traits. So we have Arctic climate. You're resistant to cold damage, and you have advantage on saving throws against extreme cold. So extreme heat, you're resistant to fire damage, and have advantage on saving throws against extreme heat. High gravity, your jump distance is doubled, and when assigning bonus points to your abilities, you can raise your strength to a maximum of 4 instead of 3. Spacer.
Makes sense.
Yep, Spacer, i.e. you are raised on a ship or on a low-grav planet. You have proficiency with 1 vehicle, and you ignore any penalties to attack rolls or checks due to being in 0G. Subterranean, you grow up underground. You have dark vision up to 60 feet, and you gain 1 rank in either perception or survival. I'd probably house rule it that if you, at that point, already have 3 points in either of them, that you just get a freebie.
Free point, yeah.
Yeah, but that's only if you've already capped out both of them. Which isn't likely to happen, but the possibility is there. And, see, Utopian. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. You gain proficiency with 1 artisan's tool, musical instrument, or vehicle. And lastly, Wastelands. You come from an area affected by atmospheric decay, radioactive fallout, or similar cataclysmic conditions. So, New Jersey. Or,
yep.
For my UK friends, Birmingham.
As a side note, I'm enjoying this art that we're scrolling past a little bit of here.
Mm-hmm.
Takes me right back to like the early 90s.
Then we have Newmans, which, since Newman is something that is unique to Phantasy Star, I do want to go into the description for you. Newmans, sometimes spelled Newmans, with an NU, were created as the result of biological research experiments combining human genes with those of biomonsters. Originally shunned in society, they gained acceptance over time and evolved to be recognized and respected as an independent species. The genetic research that created Newmans focused on augmenting physiological traits and enhancing the ability to channel energy into techniques. Newmans appear similar to humans, although they tend to have slimmer builds. A distinct feature among them is their pointy, elongated ears. Their age also belies their appearance. A typical Newman can appear anywhere from 1 to 30 years old. Their average lifespan is the same as the humans. I know some people are going to look at Newmans and say that they're space elves. That's not accurate.
Well, they don't seem to have the cultural background that elves have of, like living in these big fancy castles or forests, right? To start with.
Yeah.
Because they're science experiments, it seems.
Pretty much.
You're not wrong.
But They also tend to be a little bit shorter as far as the height range. They cap out at 6 feet. Um,
Hmm.
so they have innate caster. They can choose a path from the Newman techniques table and learn certain techniques at level 1. They gain additional techniques at levels 3 and 5. The latter two techniques can be cast once without using any technique points, and you can cast them that way again when you finish a long rest. You can also cast these techniques using any technique points you have, like any normal technique that you might get. Intelligence, wisdom, or charisma is your ability for the techniques you cast with this trait. You choose this when you do character creation. So the 3 paths are battle, boost, and support, which battle grants the spells Grevka, Jelen, and Rimit. Boost grants Lagan, Shifta, and Pauna. And support grants Shu, D-Band, and Anti. So you have a limited form of casting. And I know it'd be tempting to look at techniques as a spell equivalent, but there are going to be some variations we'll see, and it's not using the exact same spell list as one might expect. We're not going to see magic missile in the technique list. You also get 1 rank in the perception skill and a +1 bonus to agility, which goes up by 1 at levels 5 and 16. And we have a few other species options that are GM discretion, so as some of them might not fit within certain campaigns. There's also a nice little variant if you want to use the environmental traits for other species, but it's a GM call kind of thing. It's
Okay. These guys are tall.
Mm-hmm. So first we have the Dizolians, who are from Dizolis, a planet in the Algol system. And Ferb says Newman are like Palman clones with monster DNA, and yes, texts aren't quite spells. It's explained in PS4. Oh, sorry. No worries. Take your time, man. But the Zolians have a height range of 6 to 8 feet. I feel, which would mean I'd be on the short end of the stick there. They can read, speak, and write the Dizolian language. They have resistance to cold damage and don't suffer the effects of extreme cold. They have innate casting. They gain the Lumiu technique at level 1, the Shifta technique at level 3, and the Anti technique at level 5. So basically the support path we saw for Newmans. It works under a similar rule. The latter 2 techniques can be cast for free once per long rest, or can be cast using technique points normally. And you still have to pick between intelligence, wisdom, or charisma for what ability score you're using with those techniques. You also get 1 rank in insight and 1 rank in perception, and have dark vision with a range of 60 feet. But we also another GM optional race we have is the Motavian, who are native, of course, to Motavia. Often reclusive. They don't have a formal system of government, instead forming groups of clans residing in small villages throughout the desert planet. Some venture into outside settlements, though they avoid involving themselves in Palmian affairs unless necessary. So they are essentially bird nomads.
Yeah. They like to migrate. Yep, makes sense.
So height range is 4 to 7 feet. So they gain the Motavian language as mentioned. They also gain heat tolerance, which would be natural for being in a desert. They have resistance to acid and fire damage, and don't suffer the effects of extreme heat. You gain 1 rank in the perception skill and 2 ranks in the survival skill. And your max HP goes up by 1 and increases by 1 again each time you gain a level.
They're the polar opposites of the Dazolians.
Boo! But then we have the musk cat, which is a cat-like creature with affinity for magic. They're a rare species, and
Which Phantasy Star is this from?
let me.
Yeah.
Is it from 3? Is that why I'm blanking out on it?
Yes. They've appeared in 3. There was some mention of them in 4.
Yeah, I mean, like, I figured that there must have been a party member that was a Muscat at some point. Otherwise, why would this be in here?
They were in the original as well, which, as I mentioned, a lot of people in the States aren't going to be as familiar with the first Phantasy Star because it was on the Master System and not the Genesis, and the Master System wasn't the easiest to get in the States. It had a very limited run. But as far
No,
as
it was an NPC in Phantasy Star 4.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But they've appeared, but Mayu is the most famous case of it, which was in the original.
That's why it looks so different. Okay, cool.
It's like a little Sailor Moon cat, really.
But I will give them props for going that deep. So muskcats are usually 2 to 3 feet long. They actually have a higher speed at 35 feet. So they can't use any weapons other than fangs. They get a +1 bonus to the power of their techniques, going to +2 at level 11. They can use their claws as weapons, which deal 1d4 plus dex. Although, given what we're seeing out of this, I don't think... well, I suppose you could make a combat musk cat, but I get the feeling that wouldn't be the best idea. They get the Terror Technique, which they can cast twice without using any points. You regain these uses after a long rest. You can also cast this technique using technique points as normal. At 11th level, you can cast it 3 times. You do have to pick between Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma for the ability for it. You can squeeze through small spaces and share any space occupied by an ally. You can't wear medium or heavy armor, and you can't use shields. Instead,
I wonder why.
There is muskcat armor that is in the form of thick hides that have the same cost and statistics as light armor. You have a climb speed equal to your walking speed. You must still succeed on climb checks to climb. And we also have a sidebar about the Lerma nut. As in the original Phantasy Star, a muskcat that eats this nut can turn into a large winged creature. If the GM opts to include this, then first off, the Lerma nut is a grade 4 item. We'll get to the whole item grade thing much later. You go from a small creature to a large creature with a fly speed of 120 feet. Your strength, dex, and con mods go up by 3 to a maximum of 5. This effect lasts for 1 hour. After it ends, you have to wait 24 hours before you can eat another one.
Wow.
All right. So, yeah, save that for the BBEG, I guess.
They have to wait an entire day before they can. No, I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
I know where you were going with that.
Oh, man.
Uh, but then we have the backgrounds. So for each background, when it comes to these skills, you get 2 ranks in each skill. Once again, the cap is 3. If you already have 3 ranks in a skill, those 2 ranks are free points. You gain the listed proficiencies, as well as the listed equipment, and also we have some suggested characteristics, which is more of a suggestion on what sort of character to build, but it isn't any kind of stats. And some of these backgrounds are going to be familiar. So we have Acolyte, which gets insight and lore, gets an artisan tool or 1 musical instrument. I should note Meseta is the equivalent of GP. Meseta is the currency in the video game, so they brought it over here. Let's see, we have Celebrity, which has insight and performance, as well as a disguise kit. Crafter, which has insight and persuasion, as well as 2 artisan tools. Drifter, which has perception and survival, along with a gaming set or musical instrument, and 1 vehicle.
If they get a talking motorcycle. Sorry.
No, this is not Kotaro Minami.
Actually, I was thinking more Kino's.
Kino?
But yeah.
No, plot twist. We end up getting Kit.
Aww.
Or further plot twist, for those who remember it, you might end up getting the Dodge Viper in Guardian mode.
Oh gosh.
How's that for a deep cut?
So deep I didn't even feel it.
Please continue to make me feel old. This entire thing's already doing it.
So we have Investigator, which gets insight and investigation, as well as a disguise kit and a gaming set. Makes sense that Investigator would get a disguise kit. I mean, how many times did Sherlock Holmes disguise himself?
Yep.
And we have Local Hero. No, Joe Hendry, not you.
Aw.
So it gets insight and persuasion, as well as 1 set of artisan tools and 1 vehicle, as far as its proficiencies. Then Outlander, which gets survival and xenobiology, 1 artisan tool set. It is described as growing up close to nature, so pretty much outside of civilization, not full on hermit, but the great outdoors type.
Like our buddy Luke Skywalker, perhaps.
I can certainly count it. I know it would be tempting to say Outlander would be someone who's out in the woods, but when you're dealing with this kind of setting, you shouldn't assume the wilderness is the woods all the time. It could be a desert. It could be a deeper jungle, or it could be around a volcano.
Or it could be a polar ice cap.
Then we
like
have,
our tall green buddies.
Then we have Outlaw, which has deception and stealth as its skills, as well as a disguise kit or a forgery kit, plus 1 gaming set or musical instrument.
You know, I usually prefer outlaws over in-laws.
I think most people do.
Yeah. Is that a country song? Sounds like a country song.
The main difference is you can arrest an outlaw.
Then we have patrician, so essentially nobleman. Skills are lore and persuasion. You get a disguise kit, proficiency, one gaming set, or musical instrument. If you pick a string instrument, I'm going to be calling you Edward for the remainder of the campaign.
They play a drum set.
Then we have pilot, insight, and either computers or mechanics. You're proficient in 2 vehicles of your choice, or Cyrus Smith tools and 1 vehicle.
I know how to drive spaceships.
Let's see, we have scholar, which is proficient in lore and either astrophysics, medicine, or xenobiology. Get 2 artisan's tools as well as 1 gaming set, musical instrument, or vehicle.
So many of these get musical instruments, you could very easily form a band.
Let's see, then soldier.
And then proceed to get banned.
Athletics and survival is its skill proficiencies, as well as 1 artisan's tool and 1 vehicle. And we have techie, getting computers and mathematics, a proficiency in Cyrus Smith tools or digital technician's tools or hacker's kit. So, and the last one we have is Wayfarer. Gets insight and stealth, gets 1 forgery kit, hacker's kit or infiltration tools, and 1 vehicle. So, I think one of the big things...
This is the urchin.
Yeah. I think one of the big things to note is backgrounds don't have a unique story ability that, if I'm being honest, rarely got used. But instead, you're getting a particular advantage when it comes to your starting skill spread.
Mm-hmm.
Which does indicate, to me, this indicates that you're going to be encouraged to pick up a variety of skills, especially given how many skill points you're getting every level, even with the cap. So I don't think this is going to be a case where you're expected to have the martial character only have a couple skills and have everything else dedicated to the rogue equivalent or something like that.
Yeah.
Of course, the last thing in that section is story bonds, which you can roll a d20 to determine, or you can pick one. These can be used as part of the storyline or just a character guideline. Or you can create a specific bond, but it's important to talk it out with the group and with the GM. I like that they note both the group and GM should be discussed on this, instead of just the GM.
Everyone should choose debt. That way we're on a quest for more money.
And Ferb pointed out that Phantasy Star 4 had at least 1 winged muskcat that didn't necessarily eat the fruit, but that's rare.
Yep. It's coming back to me now. Oh man, I haven't touched those games in ages.
I probably'd house rule it that if you manage to reach 20th level, you can just do that once per day without eating the fruit. Would that be
really
busted?
Okay.
Probably. But I take the approach of, if everyone's broken, no one is.
And let's be fair, you're an adventuring party. Everyone's broken on the inside.
Yeah. But
and I'm not talking about the characters.
But as far as characterization goes, what do you guys think so far?
Looks good to me.
Yeah, seems good. I like how they do suggest that you come up with a concept at the beginning And then I suppose the background can help you flesh it out later. Um, yeah, I suppose that makes sense. Yeah. Doesn't seem like we have a whole lot of species options there. Um,
You didn't
but,
get that many species in the Fantasy Star universe.
well, there you go then. So we mostly have androids, humans, and Newmans. So,
Yeah,
yeah. And then
like
three more rare species, too. Okay.
Yeah.
to be fair, right? This system lends itself to be open if someone wanted to like house rule anything else in.
True
It
enough.
wouldn't be too difficult to like make your own races and go, "Yep, something new."
Plenty of variant rules too, so you could be like a human from just about any place you could think of.
Because there were a lot of planets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though we only have three races, there's a couple things I do appreciate. One of them is an attempt to try and make the choice of race relevant at higher levels, even if it's just number go up. That's certainly a step up compared to 5e's approach, where after first level, race becomes irrelevant. The other thing that I kind of hinted at earlier that I do appreciate is the fact that you're almost encouraged to have a wider variety of skills that you have bonuses in instead of hyper focusing.
Yeah, I could see that too, especially if you wanted to play like I assume that the whatever that roguelike role or profession was, you're gonna need to have a lot more skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how they spread it out next time. Um,
Yeah, because we definitely went a bit longer than I thought, and given how detailed the professions are, I think that one we will tackle in a couple weeks.
After we recover from our food comas, yes.
That's right. That's
Recover
right.
from
Turkey
food-
Day, everybody.
Yeah, recover from food comas, and Canada, quiet. You already had your Turkey Day. But and of course, in my case, the family recovers from any PTSD they have from me just being there.
You're not that bad.
I'm still banned from the kitchen.
So's Bruce Wayne.
I do one prank with cranberry sauce, and all of a sudden, I have a permanent ban from the kitchen for not just Thanksgiving but every family holiday.
Ah,
And I'm not banned from eating the food, thank God. I just can't be in the kitchen while it's being made because they think I'm gonna pull something. The funny thing is, I haven't pulled anything in years, but they're still paranoid.
don't know what to tell you. Once burned, twice shy, I guess.
Oh gosh.
I think it's because the thing in question was me messing with the cranberry tube.
Aha.
You know, instead of cranberry sauce, they're eating red beets, and nobody realized it until it was too late.
Ow!
You know what they say about assuming, right?
Yeah, I do. I had a boss that used to tell me that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, the question that often gets asked is why, and the reason is revenge. Because while everyone was spit taking, I said, "Hey, you remember that whole trick candles thing a year ago? I told you you'd all get your receipt."
Oh, for a moment there, I thought it had something to do with chocolate.
No, that's a different story. I've told that story plenty of times. Uh, Especially now that certain folk think that I did something horribly, horribly wrong by messing with coffee. That is the equivalent of given the poison apple in Snow White or something.
Well, the worst thing you can do with coffee is like switch the decaf for the regular, right?
I did the opposite.
Ah, okay.
Understandable.
Mhm.
Well, there was that like caffeinated lemonade incident a few years ago. No, I'm sorry, not Starbucks. Panera caffeinated lemonade. Do you remember that? Somebody had a heart attack because they kept drinking this caffeinated lemonade without knowing that it had caffeine in it.
Yeah, that's definitely a
That's
case
different.
where that's going a bit further than what I did.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I assume that you wouldn't do that to someone who had like coronary difficulties,
No,
right? Right?
yeah, I may be a villain at times, but I'm not that kind of evil. I think we've all seen the trope. Even evil has standards.
Mm-hmm.
I may be a former supervillain, but I'm not a monster.
But with that said, like I said, we'll be covering professions in 2 weeks, and when we get to the professions, I'll probably talk a bit about what their rough equivalent would be. But I have a feeling some of these are not going to be as equivalent to D&D classes as one might think.
Mm.
We already kind of have that with the fact that we have multiple Gish archetypes as is. I know some people are going to
They're all gishes.
Well, they're not all Gishes. This isn't turtles all the way down, but there are quite a few that are. But
Oh, you're right. At the very bottom, there's a couple that aren't.
mhm. But that's something we'll
Yeah,
get
definitely.
into.
Just looking at the first one, it seems like there are those that can use techniques that I wouldn't have thought would be able to.
Mhm.
So.
And I think it's easier to do a Gish when you're not using the Vancian model. But I might be biased because, as I've mentioned before, I hate that model.
Mm-hmm.
I have hated it for years. But
What? You never.
I'll hate it on principle. I am a professional hater.
Fair enough.
But with that said, as always, a sincere thanks to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come all the way to the monastery and enjoy the madness that happens here. And there'll be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Bye bye.
See ya.